Hey there. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Unsecurity Podcast. This is episode 111. The date is December 22nd, 2020, and I'm your host, Evan Francine. Joining me as usual is my friend, and I stress good friend and coworker, Brad Nye. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning, Evan.
How are you?
Exhausted.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
A little chaotic the last week.
It's funny, sitting here on my desk, I've got two coffees. One's a large, one's a medium? Whatever our bottles there's they got their fancy names, but it's basically a medium. Mm-hmm. And then I have a Rain energy drink. It's called Rain Inferno, Red Dragon. Yep. And then I've got another, it's another Rain. I got a Rain, it's called Orange Dreamsicle. So 2 energy drinks, 2 coffees. And then I think I have, what do they call that? Adrenal fatigue? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
All right. Well, I'm taking adrenal cortex too. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. All kinds of stuff.
I think I'm set until at least 10 a.m.
I would hope so.
Right? Oh, man. Yeah, it's been crazy. Well, this is our last episode before Christmas.
Yeah. Which we were talking about, it's like, how did we get here? Like, it just kind of, it's been such a crazy year. It's all of a sudden, it's like, oh, hey, we're here.
I know, man. And a lot of people using the excuse, well, chalking it up, it's 2020. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't, like, there's no magic, like pixie dust or poof, it's gone in 2021. Oh, no. We have to deal with this stuff for a long time.
Yeah. I
don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but there's a lot of residual.
Yeah. And I think, I don't think it's being Debbie Downer so much as it is being realistic, especially with the pandemic, right? They're saying even if everybody gets their first round of vaccines by, let's just say May, it's going to be June before you get your second round, and then it's 6 weeks before you get full, the immunity from it. So you're looking at August is the reality.
Well, and I think, as people get their vaccine, I mean, one of the things that's irritated me this whole year is just the lack of reasonableness.
Yeah.
The lack of perspective. Just be reasonable.
Right. And I think things will start getting back to normal, right? As more people get the vaccine, I think, but what all the stuff says is you still have to wear a mask and still follow some of the, the recommendations, but I think you'll start seeing there's light at the end of the tunnel, I guess is what.
Right. Well, I think the one, theme for me that's kind of been intertwined with everything is, I mentioned the word reasonableness. I think society has lost the ability to be real. They don't reason. They don't think.
Yeah.
Not just on the vaccine, but also in the social unrest stuff, in the politics. It's just like, where did reason go?
Yeah, critical thinking has been neglected for a long time, and it shows.
Well, and that's why I love working, when I do get the most of my day is spent with people, like you, where we do reason. That's like so central to our job. And so when I talk to you, it's like, okay, I'm not totally crazy because, you go out on the streets and you see people and you say, and you talk to people and you're like, I don't know where the hell you're coming from.
Yeah.
And then I get to talk to you and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm not crazy.
Totally off base.
Yeah. And if I am crazy, then so are you.
You're not alone. There you go.
Yep. It's
one way or the other. You're you're in good shape.
Yeah, for sure. So I figured we'd open up, obviously we have this catching up thing that we do, but then I also want to read a Christmas poem that FRSecure's Jess Koyman wrote, which I think is just like, knocks my socks off how just talented she is, you know. So we'll talk about that real quick though. Catching up, how you doing? How's family? You guys safe? How's your head? Are you back to having balance again or what?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple of days that are better than others, or not better than others, I guess I should say. But overall, it's definitely getting better. I haven't had any major issues or needed to take the medicine for a couple of weeks now. So,
Okay.
it's
Well,
just,
and for listeners who haven't heard, previous episodes, we're talking about labyrinthitis, right? You had this
yeah,
diagnosis and you're coming on the other side of that, hopefully.
yep. Yeah, they said 1 to 2 months from the initial symptoms or the acute onset of it. So we're at just almost, it's just 5 weeks now, something like that. So still have some like weird pain issues or whatever in my ear where it's kind of like, yeah, okay, it's still there, but I haven't had any balance issues. So
Good. And everything else, family, do anything for Christmas? It's only like 3
I
days
know.
away now.
No, smoking a ham, doing the smoked ham
Mm,
with the spiced apricot
yeah,
glaze.
nice.
Although,
I'll be over about 3.
well, I don't. Yeah, it'll be interesting because it's gonna be chilly on Christmas. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect
Oh, the smoking.
the smoking. It might take a little longer, but maybe 4.
Yeah. Well, and I know we're going to be really responsible. I mean, as much as we can. But my son is getting married in Las Vegas on Christmas Eve.
Very cool.
Yeah, they decided to elope because they didn't want to have a wedding and have a whole bunch of people come together. So it's very few of us. We're going to Las Vegas, and even if he wouldn't have invited me, I would have been that guy who showed up and would have been watching through the window. You know.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
So yeah, so we leave tomorrow for that, and I think Vegas is very strict in their COVID and social distancing and mask wearing rules. So that's good to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kind of have to be. They don't want to get shut down.
True, very true. It'll be interesting to see kind of what that town looks like because I've
Yeah.
certainly been there numerous times when it's hustling and bustling. I wonder if it'll be just like down or what to expect.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting. It'll be different. I'm sure. Feel very different.
Yeah. All right. So Christmas 3 days away. Did you get your shopping done yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I got it done. Like it was so cool, man. I mean, I'm not a I'm not big into world domination, so but when I think of Amazon, it's like, damn, that was easy.
Hmm.
I got my Christmas shopping done in like 2 hours, laying on the couch on my phone.
Right. Well, and knowing with all the uh, postal service like slowdowns and issues and backlog, we got all ours done early this year, just so to make sure
Yeah,
that it would all arrive. So
yeah, and I've as I get older and older, I become, I think, more and more jaded by technology because you start to realize all the bad things that people do with it, and then so on this, I'm not like a big Amazon fan, but when technology makes your life that convenient, it's hard not to like it, man. I mean, seriously,
yeah,
2 hours and then the stuff just showed up on my doorstep. I just done.
yeah, yeah. I do try to go direct. Oh, for what I can, but at the same time, it's like get 2 day free shipping or pay $15 and wait a week and a half. It's hard to.
Right.
That's a
Right.
big convenience.
It really is. Which I think was the original purpose of technology, right? It was to make life more convenient. When you look at the other areas of my life, technology doesn't make it more convenient. It makes my life some days a living hell, to be honest. But It was good. All right, let's get to the Christmas poem. So I'm going to read it. You haven't even seen it, so I'm going to share. I'm going to share the screen,
Yeah,
and
I
you
don't know
probably
how
haven't
I
seen it
missed
just because
this.
you haven't checked your email on that yet. Oh, I did stop video. Let's go share screen. So let's to click. There we go. Boom. There's the Christmas poem. So I think it's cool. So for listeners, you'd be like, damn, that is some serious skill to put this stuff together. So 'twas the night before Christmas when all through the internet, tons of info was flowing data set to data set. The botnets were whirring with ill intent in hopes that some users' minds were absent. The firewalls were active in guarding their keep, while DDoS attempts played out in their sleep. And CISOs in their offices and pen testers in their lairs were fighting the fight to make the board care. When out of the web there arose such a mess, those with white hats tried hard to suppress. A way to patch they hurriedly raced to reset the passwords and update cyberspace. The monitor glow on the face of the hacker gave enough of a jolt to find the attacker. When what to their sleep deprived eyes did appear, but a brand new ransomware making its premiere. With a ghastly infection so cunning and gross, they knew without question it would affect the host. More rapid than malware their response it came, and they whistled and shouted and gleefully exclaimed, now patches, now patches, now passwords and encryption, on training, on MFA, on software subscription. To the chair of the board, to the user up the hall, now hash away, hash away, hash away all. As the reports that after the incident must come, when the analyst finally knows what has been done. So into the documents the pen testers wrote with a virtual machine full of viruses and notes. And then in a frenzy they saw on the net, the attackers rallied and changed their bets. As they spun up the box and started again, the pen testers searched to find the kingpin. They were dressed all in black from their heads to their feet. All their clothes had some stains from Monster and treats. And payload of malware they discovered and prevented. And the network they fixed, it is now segmented. Their programs, how they ran, their scans, how effective, the OSINT they used like private detectives. The CISO's brow was furrowed up like a knot until he realized the attacker would be caught. The thickest of night guards he clenched in his teeth, and his headache, it encompassed his head like a wreath. He had a big plan and a tiny little budget that got slashed and cut when the executives judged it. But he stayed hopeful and kept pushing on as he knew that his fight would never be gone. An assessment of his risks and a roadmap to boot soon gave him to know they could not refute. Soon gave him to know they could not refute. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and fixed the vulnerabilities, then sat back with a smirk. And assembling his team to commend their effort or commend their project, he reminded them their efforts did not go unchecked. They went back to their socks, spirits renewed, completely content with their solitude, and they IM'd each other, made it concise. Happy Christmas to all, and to all a secure device.
It's fantastic.
Isn't that amazing? Wow. Yeah, that lady's got some serious talent, man.
Yeah. I would
So I
not
think
have
that went out to all
that.
FRSecure customers maybe yesterday. It's
Yeah.
cool, though. Huh?
But yeah, really good.
I wonder how much time she spent on that. I haven't even asked her yet. But anyway, yeah, there were certainly some parts to that poem that resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, been there, done that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I think she caught I don't know, the attitude, yeah, she captured it well.
Kind of caught the gist of it.
Yeah.
So truly, to all our listeners and to all my friends, to just people that are on the fringes, whatever. I do wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I wish you a Merry Christmas, Brad.
Thank you.
I hope
Same
you're
to you.
safe and healthy.
You're gonna have a pretty good one with the wedding and all the excitement and joy that goes with that.
Yeah. Last week, my wife bought, I don't know, 15 pounds of barbecue for a birthday party, and that would have been like a pound and a half per person because there just weren't that many people here. Because we want to be. I want to play by the rules, man. I don't want to piss people off, but uh,
I was gonna say, did you say where's the rest for everyone else?
oh man, it's a lot of barbecue. We're still eating it. Yeah, we're still eating it. All right, so I figured next we'd talk about information security at home. 2 episodes ago, so we got sidetracked a little bit with the in case you didn't hear about it, the whole SolarWinds, FireEye, U.S. Department of Treasury, U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Department of everything, Microsoft, Cisco, other countries. They're all hacked.
Yep.
So we put things on hold with the information security at home. And so now we're going to pick up where we left off in episode 109. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Now, before we jump too far into that, what's our team working on now? Are we working on, you said, or 9 incidents at present?
I think eight or nine active. I can't keep track. A lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we're inundated with incident response, and we've found at least one customer who's, affected by all this government entity out west.
Yeah. Yeah. Working with them.
That one doesn't sound good.
Uh, yeah, it's still too early to tell exactly what's going on. Still trying to get tools that deployed across the entire environment. So it's gonna be a little bit longer one than we were hoping, I think.
Right. You can tell that both you and I are dragging ass right now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to the weekend, the long weekend here.
Yeah. Yeah, I am too. Well, I would be too, but I'll be traveling now, and I sort of just want to sleep. But maybe I'll sleep on the plane or something.
There you go.
All right, episode 109, we left off, if I recall correctly, is we had demonstrated logging into my home router,
Mm-hmm.
which is a CenturyLink stock router. Nothing changed, and I logged in, walked through changing password, and then didn't really do much beyond that. And I think because that was where we both agreed, you and I, that that's where you have to start.
Right.
Change your default password and change it there, and then go find everything else and change passwords everywhere else. Right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Never leave the default.
So that's what we did in episode 109, which was really simple. It took 5 minutes tops. And just to recap real quick, the way we found that was I'd opened a command prompt. And so you back to episode 109 to see, how we did that. Just opened a command prompt. At the command prompt, I typed in IPCONFIG and got my default gateway, right? And that was probably going to be the IP address of my router.
Right.
So then opened up a browser, put that IP address in the browser, and then hit enter. It automatically shifted me to an HTTPS, which is probably what's going to happen on yours too. If you get a screen that says can't connect or whatever, try that. Just HTTPS in your browser address bar, HTTPS : the IP address. And then you'll get a prompt. You'll have a username and password. If you've never changed your password, it's probably on the bottom of your router on a sticker. If that doesn't work, then you can just Google the model number of your router, and it might be that password too.
Yeah, and that's why you want to change it, right? Is it takes 5 minutes. It's known. It's not any sort of secret, and it's facing the internet.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and if it's facing the internet and it's well known, that means the attackers know it too, right? Very
Right.
easy to take over your home network. And if you're doing stuff, for work on your home network, that makes it even more attractive to the attacker potentially.
Which the vast majority of people are now.
Right. Yeah. And for knowing how attack sequences work, that's the way they work, right? You find a vulnerability, you compromise the vulnerability. So now you have a foothold into the system. Then it's either elevate privileges and pivot, or if you already have the privileges, next thing the attacker will do will be try to pivot into another system that's maybe more interesting.
Right. Or establish multiple command and control points and persistence points.
Exactly. And all this would happen, without you knowing, right? Um, and then it's conceivable, maybe even probable, to pivot into the computer you use for work, and then pivot into your work network.
Right.
That's not inconceivable.
No, no, not at all.
And then you're that person.
Yeah, nobody wants to be
I
that
mean,
person.
no, we have to flog you. Sorry, that's now the punishment for being a breach victim.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that. So I was changing the default password on your router, and then I said the next thing that I would do would be to try to identify all the systems on my home network, because I can't possibly protect the things I don't even know I have.
Right.
Now, the tool I chose, and you can find other tools, but the tool I chose was a tool called Nmap, Nmap. If you Google it, it'll come up with the FIDSec tools probably. The tool was created originally by Fyodor. It's open source. It's free. Uh, Make sure you get the legitimate Nmap, and again, it's on episode 109 if you want to see what that looks like. Download it, install it, uh, and then run it. Take that same IP address that you use to get to your home router, take the last octet, which is probably going to be a 1, right? So like on my home network, I think it was 192.168.0.1. Remove the 1, uh, replace it with the 0, and put a /24 at the end of it and click scan.
Yep. That easy.
It really is, man. And I think a lot of people get intimidated because, oh my gosh, never even heard of Nmap before. Seriously, man, if I can do it, anybody can. It's just do it.
Yeah.
It's easy.
And people will be surprised what they find too.
Yeah, right. And then we had a whole bunch of results. And some of those results, I mean, I think to the layperson, a lot of those things didn't make any sense. And I'm going to try to, while we're talking, bring up my results. But instead of doing that, let's do this. Now, did you do it too, Brad? Or you've probably numerous times.
I can, I mean, with my setup, I can see every connection
Right.
on all the different wireless. So I didn't do it because I already had it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a
But I'm
nerd.
going to share mine with you. Yeah, I am too, man. I'm going to share with you my results. And I know that you're now going to see all of my internal IP addresses. I don't really care. And here's all the systems that were on my network. So when you look at the left side, all you see is a bunch of numbers, right? There is one that's got a host name. It's, Raspberry Pi that I've got running with Pi-hole. Don't worry about that. But this is just a very simple, basic network. I purposely haven't gone and things complicated here. I don't have a lot of things running, but you see things like this. So if you click on the things on the left, you'll get some hints as to what these things are and what ports are open. So, like this is where I found my firewall, the 192.168.0.1, and I connected to port 443 when I opened the browser and I typed that IP address in. it redirected me. It listened on port 80, but it redirected me to port 443. That's the port that I would use to, manage that router. I could have gone to 8080, but that would have redirected me also to 443. Not, don't worry too much, but these ports are common ports, and you're probably going to have the same sort of thing on your home network if you haven't changed things. These are common ports. 80 is for web. That's just HTTP. When you browse the internet without encryption, that's the port you're using by default. 443 is the encrypted port, essentially, for HTTP or web traffic. HTTPS, that's what the S means, for the lay person. Don't worry so much about some of these other ports. I mean, 21 is TP, this is SSH or SFTP and Telnet. But the ones we really, when you're looking through the results, what we're looking for are things that will tell me what this might be, right? And so, you're looking for hints like Meraki firewall. Okay, well, it is a firewall and it is a version of Meraki, but that sort of gives me a hint that that's what that thing does. If I go to this one, I already know this one because I set it up. It's Raspberry Pi. I can see, a little bit of information about it. That it's got SSH open. 53, which is DNS. Yeah. Then you get into some of these other ones where it's like, what? What is this? Right? Sage ES digital NDEC remote audio monitor level meter. And this is kind of the point, right? So if you've got stuff like this on your network and you don't even know it, that's the point here. You're going to go on kind of a detective fact-finding hunt on your home network to find out what these things are. Now there's some hints in there like digital NDEC remote audio monitor level meter. What is that? That has something to do with TV, maybe?
Yeah.
So you'll still find, hints. If you Google this stuff like 0MQ ZMP 2.0, you're not going to find much because a lot of people don't do this stuff. We should, though. We should all be doing this stuff. And what you'll find out that what this is this is a DirecTV box, as you go and hunt it down. So this is what I had to do, right? It's running on my network. I should know what it is. It's a DirecTV. It's one of those, you have the main box, usually like in your living room or something, and then you have these satellite boxes throughout your home. This is one of those satellite boxes. And the way I found that out was, honestly, I couldn't find any other information. When I connected to port 80, it actually denied my connection. So meaning when I opened up a browser and typed this IP address, it wouldn't let me connect. And so what I ended up doing, I could have gone deeper with these other ports, but instead what I decided to do is I'm just going to walk around my house and unplug stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People don't realize it's that easy to figure out, right? Like, unplug it. Did it go away? Unplug it.
Right.
Did it go away?
That's exactly what I did. I just walked around the house, unplug stuff, and then saw, oh, it's gone. Okay, it must be this thing, right? And then I made note of that in a spreadsheet so I could keep it for later. Same thing with 4. These two systems. That's also another hint. If I've got 2 systems that are basically giving me the same signature, that means I probably have more than one of them on my network, i.e. those little boxes. So this is kind of fun because it is sort of a detective action, right? You're going around your network trying to figure out, what is this? What is that? And then once you finally get that done, right? Once you figure out what all these systems are on your home network, and store it in a spreadsheet, store it somewhere where you can find it easily. As you add new things, right? Christmas is right around the corner. Chances are some of us are going to get some new blinky light stuff that we can plug into our home network, maintain that inventory. It also becomes important because if you do this Nmap scan or a scan like this, maybe once every month or 2, and you find something that shouldn't be there, that's a good indicator that you should go and investigate that. Don't just accept it like, oh, look at that. We got a new thing. Right?
Yeah, no, don't do that.
No, don't. This is my computer. So, you can see that there's a little bit more of a signature here. We've got some stuff running RPC and things like that. But I would find that out. If I had done that IP config, if you remember the IP config that we did, that would have come, it would have shown my IP address as being that. This one, right? No hint. What the hell is this? I don't know. So you can go over to the Nmap output and see if you can find a little more information. This is kind of the raw output of maybe what it gave you. Maybe there's some hints there. And on 7, there's really nothing. At some
Yeah,
point, it had Samsung. Well, there you go. Samsung
there you go.
Electromag something Thailand. Some kind of electronic device on my network. And I actually did go and fingerprint this one too. And this was something my daughter had plugged in. It's like an LED light thing that she can control from the network. So that's what that ended up being. But again, I had to go around and unplug stuff. And you can see there's 13, there's hints. So sometimes you can find it in the raw output if you can't find it somewhere else. Like
Yeah,
these ones here, like 4 and 3 was this Sage blah, blah, blah thing, which ended up being those satellite boxes, but it ended up being the satellite boxes for 13, which is here, right? Here's 13. So that's the main box. That's the set-top box that's actually in my living room, for my entertainment stuff. 14, I don't know. You'll have to go on a hunt on 14. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's for.
it
18.
said it there. Your Roku
Oh, it is. Where am I missing it?
MAC
Yeah,
address.
there you go. Roku. Yep. So 14 is a Roku that's in my daughter's room. The 18 is another one of those set-top boxes, and 73. I think this is my wife's computer. So not a lot of stuff on my computer on my home network, but that's the way I like it. I don't like a lot of things because it's just more things that I have to maintain. So once you go through that exercise, you identify all these systems. Now you can do a little bit of research and find out, how to secure these systems. You can do some Google searches on, how do I secure this Sage, whatever the hell it is. If there's an interface on it, you can log in and change default passwords on those things, just like we did on the router. But do a little research and find out, how you can secure these things. Once you get past this point, the next things are, talking about a little more sophisticated stuff, like maybe network segmentation, which means
Yeah,
you get back into the router, set up a lot more complicated than this. But if everybody just got to this point where you just identified this was on your network, changed the default passwords and secured as many of these things as you could, and then just regularly sort of monitored what goes on your network and what might be missing, you're well on your way.
absolutely. I agree.
So this is the same exercise I went through, and it's not been doing this for this kind of stuff for a really long time. You can also, if you really wanted to get geeky, and maybe this gets addicting for you, if you've never done this stuff before and you're like, man, I kind of dig this stuff, this is sort of fun, well, then install yourself some Wireshark.
Yeah.
Start digging into what packets are traversing your network and monitoring
What are these
traffic.
things doing? Not just what are they,
Yeah,
but what are they doing?
exactly. Or get yourself a little Raspberry Pi. It's a little device. Cost me what? You have one too, Brad?
50
60
bucks?
bucks,
Yeah.
for everything. And then you can install yourself a Pi-hole. And Pi-hole is kind of nice because it allows me to do some DNS filtering. It also allows me to do some DNS monitoring, so I can monitor where people are going on the internet. It also black holes a lot of ad traffic, right?
Yep. Yeah, adding malware, known malware sites, things like that.
Yeah. So if you get a hankering for this stuff, like, man, I kind of like being the geek, go to the next step, man, and reach out to us if you want to know more about that.
Yep, I agree. And I think we've said it over and over. We can't do this alone. It's just too many things out there, too many businesses, people. And so, the more people we can get working on and towards this and being more secure, the better.
Exactly. 100%. Well, and not only can we not do it, but it's not my responsibility.
Well,
You
yeah,
know what I mean? I have that issue too, where, people a lot of times, find out what you do for a living and they're like, hey, will you help me secure my home network? And like, yeah, I'll help you with some things. And then it becomes like, not only will you help me, will you just do it? It's like, oh,
right.
I
Yeah,
won't
you
do
become
it.
their personal tech support.
Yeah, I will certainly point you in the right direction and do what I can to help you. But man, I got to control my own stuff. I'm not, and plus, what good would it do you when you add new stuff every time? And would you have to call me every time?
Right.
No, don't do it. And so here's another place you can go. And we've talked about it on the show a few times. Uh, but if you also want to know some of the other sort of best practices, you can certainly go here. This is https, ://s2me.io. And you can see I have a boatload of
I was gonna
browser
say
windows open.
just a few tabs open.
Well, that's only one of my browsers, but this is a great place for you to go. Uh, you know, you can create a new account. And I already have an account, so I can sign in. It's got two-factor authentication, whatever, all that good stuff. When you go here, it's basically your own personal information security risk assessment.
Mhm.
So, uh,
And it's
yeah, takes you
it's
through
not
a
painful
lot
to
of the
do,
basics.
right? It's
Mm-mm.
what 20-25 minutes max.
Right, and it's free. Always will be free as long as I'm alive and as long as I have control over it.
There you go.
Yeah. So you go to recap real quick. If you did what we did in episode 109, you had changed your default password on your router, you had installed Nmap, you had run an Nmap scan on your local network. Today, we went through the results of those. You have to hunt down what those systems actually are on your home network. Do a little research, find out what are your options for securing those things. If they have an admin page and you can log in, if they have a way to patch them, you want to know that stuff. And then if you feel comfortable and you want to go further, I'd say do your S2Me and start looking at other cool tools like Pi-hole or uh, Wireshark. You can play around with that. I mean, there's all kinds of things. You're not going to break anything.
Right. Yeah. No, not with those tools.
No, no, there are other things we can use to break, but we're not going to go into that right now. Those are things that I do
Yeah. That
and you
that's
do.
two or three levels down. You got a ways to go.
Yeah. All right. So good stuff on that. What else do I have? I had, now I closed my window too. So now I'm trying to figure out what the heck we were talking about. Um, oh, my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Saturday, my mom calls me. She's 73 years old. We're like, yeah, she's just the best. And she says she caught wind of this whole SolarWinds thing, and she calls me and says, so, and she made it really clear, like overemphasized, explain it to me in a way that I will understand it. I'm like, Mom, I speak English. But she wanted to know about what the SolarWinds thing means to her. So I thought that this fits kind of nicely into this information security at home thing.
Yeah, I agree.
It was really sort of frustrating, I think, for the most of last week that SolarWinds was top of the news in our industry, right? If you are in our industry and you hadn't heard of SolarWinds, it's like, are you under a rock?
Right.
Whereas in the mainstream media, I'd been checking, almost daily on CNN, MSNBC, Google News, and Fox. Almost daily, I was going to see, is any of this stuff making the mainstream media? And it wasn't until the latter part of last week before it even hit anywhere, really.
Yeah. Or at least I think maybe got the coverage that it should have given how big a deal this is.
Right. Yeah, last week we were talking about with Oscar. This is the biggest, most impactful attack I've ever witnessed.
I mean, it's going to take months to just fully understand it, not even close all the holes and all that. But yeah, it's this is massive.
Right. And so I was like telling my mom, I'm like, you know, if I'm not, I really got to shake me up from the panic. But if I were, and I'm not, but if I were to panic, this would be something I'd be panicking about. It's a deal.
Yeah.
And so she was like, well, what does it mean to me? And so I thought, man, I'm going to talk to Brad about this. Like, what would you have answered her, do you think, if she would have asked you that?
I think that it's a good question. And, I think the answer is we don't know yet.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, we don't know the full scope of this. The reality is probably not going to affect your day to day. You might have some government services because that seems to be the biggest target was the government, state, local, and federal. Um, you maybe some government services are impacted, but I think day to day, you're probably not going to see a big difference. Um, I think where we'll start seeing the difference is as this shakes out, I think businesses will start, I hope, um, start transitioning to the more of that deny by default, right? The least privileged, don't, only allow what's known and trusted out of the network.
Yeah,
So,
man. It's crazy how, we work our asses off, yet we're lazy, right? Because that's the right way to do it. That's always
right,
been the right way to do it. Default deny has always been the right way to do things. And we didn't do it that way, I think, because maybe time constraints, maybe we are lazy, but it's easier to just plug something in and make it work.
right.
It's not
Oh,
the right way to do things, but it works.
I mean, how many times do we see, vendors say, oh, well, you have to run this as domain admin or local admin because
Right.
it works. Or how many times have people change things to open everything up because they couldn't be bothered to troubleshoot?
Very true, man. Very, very true. Well, that's what I was talking with Oscar yesterday. We have our meetings on Monday mornings, and he's like, if people just did the basics, none of this stuff would work.
Right.
None of it. This malware, or not even, I guess it is malware. It's malicious in the software. It wouldn't have propagated. It wouldn't have been able to call home.
Or
Any
at the very least,
ransomware attacks would, right,
yeah, I mean, at the very least, it's going to be make it, magnitudes harder.
right. Yeah. And when you make things magnitudes harder, chances are you increase your chances that the attacker is going to create some noise and you're going to be alerted to it earlier on too.
Right. Or, well, and honestly, unless you're a high profile target, right, where you're facing a state sponsored attack, attackers are going to go path of least resistance. If you
Yep.
make it hard for them, they'll, okay, well, I'll go hit somebody else because I know there are others out there that aren't doing that.
Yep. Yeah, very true. And so that's a great supporting statement or supporting notion for security at home, right? If you've got your default router down, if you've got, some of these basics covered, you're probably okay. You're not a really important target, but you're important enough to where if you're just dangling out there, they're going to hit you.
Right. Right. Yeah. Don't make it easy for them. That, like I said, there's
Right.
enough people that are making it really easy. Just don't make it easy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what you say is similar to what I told my mother too. Um, I don't see how I said where I think you could eventually get something would be, you'll be collateral damage, just like me, where, like you said, government services that you need or might use might not be available for some period of time. At the end of the day, we don't know what the full extent of this is or will be. I don't know if the United States is going to retaliate, or if they have, or if they will.
Right.
Um, there's just a lot of uncertainty now. And so, essentially I told her, don't worry about it. Be aware of it, right?
Right.
Pay attention, but don't worry. And protect the things that I've always taught you to protect yourself, and the things that you can. Right
Yeah.
now, she's 73 years old, and so she's fixed income, right? She's retired, and she says, "Well, what about my money?" And I'm like, "Well, I think it's probably. I mean, it's safe now. I don't know the end game here. I don't know where that goes, but." I did advise her. I said, I don't know if you've heard of cryptocurrency before, or, if your financial advisor has, but it might make sense to diversify some of your money into cryptocurrency, because you don't have a centralized authority for it like you do here in the
Right.
US, or, the Chinese yen or whatever, or yuan, whatever the hell they have over there. And she's like, well, that's not real. Meaning like tangible. And I said, well,
Yeah.
either is your dollar.
Yeah.
We went off the gold standard a while back. It's not worth anything more than bits on a computer.
Right. It's worth what the government says it's worth.
Yeah. So, but I think it would make sense, if I were on a fixed income, I would be asking my advisor. I would always go with my advisor, because they get paid to
Right.
be experts in this.
I mean,
But I would
at the end of the
ask about
day,
it.
oh yeah, and at the end of the day, it's really not a whole lot different than putting your money in the stock market, right? Like, it's a
Very
risk
true.
either way.
Well, and I think, over the years, over the last few years, the fact that big banks and big financial institutions have legitimized cryptocurrency by having their own, business units operate there. It's worth exploring, because if let's say the stock market it did tank, and, the US financial system took a huge hit for some reason, crypto might be a safer place for a while.
Yeah.
But beyond that, but I was so proud of her, man. Here's a 73-year-old lady,
That's
calling me, saying, what should I do? I said, give everything to your son. Send all of your money to your son.
yeah.
Cut the grandkids out. They're not worth it. Give it to your son. I'm an only son, so she would
There
laugh
you
at
go.
that. Yeah.
It's funny.
But I'm really proud of her. And then we talked about passwords, and I said, we were talking about something about passwords. I said, well, I use, a password manager app. And she goes, well, I don't use one of those. And I'm like, why don't you use one? And she's like, well, because I don't trust them. I'm like, all right. So where are you keeping your passwords? And she says, well, I write them down. I'm like, well, that's probably safer, to be honest. Somebody'd have to break into your house,
As
steal
long as you don't lose that paper list.
Yeah. Well, and she lives kind of on a farm, so it's a rural area where there's just not a lot of, property crime. So I'm like, yeah, I guess when you think about it from a risk perspective, that's
Yeah.
hard for me to against.
I mean, as long as they're good passwords, then, it's all about, that risk assessment, right? Like we keep saying it, yeah, she's aware, she's made the decision, and that's fine.
Well, and she monitors all her accounts and everything because she was telling me, yeah, so 9 different accounts of mine uh, were in the breach list, and so I had to go and change all those passwords. So it took me half a day, and I'm like, well, good for you,
That's awesome, though.
Brian. Yeah, again, I'm proud of you because she takes that seriously, which she should. And I wish more people would be like my mom, please. And she's not a techie, man. I mean, honestly, she gets confused opening her email, but
It's
she's on
fun.
top of this stuff.
That's, yeah. I mean, that's all. That's all that's all we are asking. Stay on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the
Yeah,
basics.
100%, man. You do not have to be a geek to do the basics. Trust me. All right, so on to some news. Do you have anything else to say about information security at home? I figured next week what we will do is let's do an end of the year recap. Let's
Yeah.
look at this year, like the shit show that it was. I still have a lot of things to be grateful for, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I was thinking about it. I mean, think about that NetScaler issue, and what was that, February? That feels like I was like, oh my gosh, that was this year. It feels like so
Yeah,
long ago. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
that'll be fun. All right, so news items. The first one I have is from TechCrunch.com. The title of the article is Dozens of Journalists' iPhones Hacked with NSO Zero-Click Spyware, says Citizen Lab. We've talked on this show once or twice about this zero-click spyware.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here you go. It's been used. The spyware was silently delivered, likely over iMessage. So this is a little bit scary because it's zero click. I don't actually have to do anything. I
Right.
just have to get the message. And and like we've said before, I mean, Apple has patched this, I believe. So if you're running the latest version of the iOS, you're probably okay.
Yeah. This goes back to, why do we patch this? There's a reason to stay up to date on your patches.
Actually, yes, great. You bring up another good thing. Maybe we do that too on another information security at home. Is just stress the importance of patching
Yeah.
the account management, using, non-administrator accounts, things like that. But yeah, every bit of software ever made by anybody anywhere needs to be patched.
Right. I mean, we talk about it as part of the mentor program, and repeatedly, like, software is being made by people. There's going to be mistakes. It doesn't matter how much you try. It's just, it happens.
Yep.
Nothing is foolproof.
Right. And I think to the normal, to the layperson, iPhones are more secure than Androids, but that doesn't mean don't be lulled into this false sense of security thinking you don't have to maintain it. You still have to patch it.
Right. Well, and put some sort of security software on there. There's good
Right.
antivirus, like endpoint protection for your phones.
Right. And since we're doing security at home thingamajobber, if you want to set up automatic updates, you go into General. So open up your settings, scroll down to General. Two down from that is Software Update. Go to Software Update. Two down from that is Automatic Updates. Turn on Download iOS Update and turn on Install iOS Updates, and boom. There you go. That's how easy it is. And then you're going to get a little indicator that's, hey, there's an update, schedule the install. And if you put it off long enough, it's just going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, for uh, Android, it's under, settings and system. It's easy.
Yeah, it really is. So no real excuse. You can't claim ignorance because we just told you. The next news I got is from Bitdefenders, Hot for Security. This is actually an article written by Graham Cluey, I believe. The title, Ransomware Attackers Are Making Threatening Phone Calls to Their Victims, warns the FBI. Yeah, I kind of take this as a good sign because it shows a little bit more desperation, like maybe people are catching up, so they have to go to the next level. But it can be really unsettling if you're getting a phone call from somebody in a foreign country who is threatening you.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, you either get comfortable with that or you just the phone.
Yeah.
But either way, I would report it, to the FBI so the authorities can track it.
Yep. It probably won't do anything specific for yours, but it is good to report so they can start seeing those patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's referring to in his article doppelpaymer. I'm sorry. Ransomware victims are being called by attackers post-infection. Family members have also called as threats are made to visit victims' homes. So they're threatening, like, "Hey, I'm going to come and do something at your house. Uh, this is why I carry guns." I don't carry guns because I want to threaten anybody. I carry guns because I want to protect people. So yeah, if an attacker shows up at my door, there's a gun waiting. And then the last one is from the Register. The title is Passwords Be Gone. GitHub will ban them next year for authenticating Git operations. All
I think
right.
that's a good step.
Yeah. So I don't know if people knew this, but Microsoft owns GitHub.
They bought it
Actually,
in the last couple of years.
yeah. So they're going to stop accepting passwords as a way to authenticate. Uh, so you're going to have to authenticate through a different authentication factor, like a passcode to a mobile device or a time-based one-time code, something like that. But
Yeah, it looks like
moving away
token-based
from,
authentication is going to be the requirement
yeah,
for the command line type
yeah,
of it.
yeah. And they're saying prepare for 2 brownouts in July when things get tested properly. So maybe mid-year next year. Be interesting how that plays out. Microsoft obviously is a really player, and they get to push their weight around a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good step, I think.
Yeah, I do too, man. I hate passwords just like everybody else. I mean, you don't have to be a geek or a non-geek to hate passwords. We just hate them, but they're they're necessary because, right? It's
Yeah.
authentication.
Yep.
We could just trust everybody and just take your word for it. We wouldn't need authentication.
But I thought we were supposed to go with zero trust.
Oh God, don't get me started. Yeah, just think how many more stuff we could sell if we were zero trust AI blockchain, brah.
I mean, it's next gen.
Yeah, 7th gen. All right, that's it for episode 111. Brad, it's always a pleasure, man. These last 111 episodes have been a lot of fun hanging out with you. If you think
Crazy.
about the hours, that's 111 hours that you and I have spent together.
Yeah. It's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time. Any shout outs for you?
That's just I just gonna say everybody stay safe over the holidays. Just
Yeah.
Everybody that's doing the right thing and staying safe and just continue to do that.
Yeah. I like that notion. I was thinking of somebody in particular, but then when you said that, I'm like, yeah, thank you. Shout out to our industry. We're all fighting. Some of them are just jerks, but we're really fighting hard. we're putting in long hours. The last thing we needed at the end of 2020 was, a SolarWinds thing. Um, but shout out, keep the faith, keep pushing, keep trying, reach out for support where you need it. Uh, yeah, I really appreciate a lot of people in this industry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you to our listeners. Send us things by email at unsecurity@protonmail.com. I'm guessing at some point, Brad or I might actually check that mail account. Whatever. We know it's there. I mean, we'll get to it. It might be months, but it's there. If you're the social type, you socialize with us on Twitter. Brad is at Brad Nye, and I am at Evan Francine. Lately, I've been on a kick of posting pictures of my dog. So if you want to see cute pictures of a dog, that's kind of what I've been on right now. And lastly, be sure to follow our companies. We do a lot of free stuff. We do want to help. We want to know the things that we're doing well and the things we're not doing so well. So please, follow us. Let us know. Become our fans, and we'll become yours too. Security Studio is at Studio Security, and FRSecure is at FRSecure. And that's it. So Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you next week.